Hey guys, welcome to the video. In this one I'm going to teach you guys how to tie perhaps my favourite fly to fish in hard conditions, when the fish are proving a little bit more difficult. At times when the flows are high, the water's coloured, or even when the flows are low and clear and the fish are doggo. This fly gets a reaction out of most fish, whether they are to move 3 meters and eat it or spook instantly as soon as this thing hits the water. It is an epic fly to fish. It's not the sort of most finesse pattern to use. I would probably rather fish anything else in terms of castability and also just straight angler appeal. It's kind of a nasty fly to go to, but at the same time it always gets a result. This is of course the Squirmy Wormy. So to tie this, we're going to start out with a little size 14. This is a thick gauge hook, grub style, because I'm going to actually be using this for big carp, but generally I would use just a regular trout grub hook, Camazan normally, size 14, maybe 12, no larger than that. But yeah, I'm just going to start with the bead head and a hook, and we're going to start by wrapping thread up the body, sort of a quarter of the way up, and snipping off the tag end. Right, so for this particular fly, just for this one today, I'm going to be using lead for the inside just to get this thing a little bit more weight. But generally it really depends on where you're looking at fishing this. So if you're fishing shallower streams and rivers from like 1 foot to 1 meter deep, generally a 2.5 to 3 mil bead is perfectly fine. But just because this one's for carp, I'm going to be using this to jiggle on the bottom, so I want this to be able to sink straight down to the bottom. So now I'm just going to tie in a piece of 0.25 lead wire right in under the bead, and just try to get some nice tight wraps down the main part of the hook shank here. Not too much, just a bit, just enough to get that fly down. That's about right. And I'm going to cover that lead with a bit of thread to hold it in place. Cool. Now we come with a bit of squirmy worm material. It's just some rubbery, very strong worm-like material here. And I'm just going to start by nicking the tip right in against the bead head. Just a loose wrap over the worm and then pull down to tighten up. From here, you want to be first of all wrapping the worm around the hook shank and then following along with the thread. And as you wrap that worm down the shank, covering the lead wire, you're going to wrap that thread right along with it. When it comes to the back of the fly, I don't like to pinch it too tight because it can sever that worm material depending on what that material's been through. If you've been through a few fish, that's generally the point at which it's going to break. So a few sort of lighter wraps in there at the back, and then what I like to do is come with a bit of dubbing. This is just some generic brown dubbing, and I'm just going to lace the thread with that. Make a nice tight compact tube of dubbing on that thread, and a few loose wraps over the very back there just to hold it in place, and we're just going to move back up the fly. And then you want to bring in a couple of whip finishes just to seal off the fly. Give that a little bit of a wiggle. Make sure that whip finish is sealed up nice. Come with scissors and snip close. and that is the Squirmy Wormy. Perhaps the most versatile fly in the fly box. If I had to choose one fly to take with me anywhere in freshwater systems, it'd have to be this fly. I've caught fish on this thing, stripping it back in as a streamer. That tail gives a nice action. I've had fish jiggling it in the bottom in front of the fish's nose and had them come down and suck it off the bottom. I've cast at brown trout in shallow water and had them come over 3-4 meters and shovel their nose in the ground, doing headstands, tail out the water, trying to get this thing off the bottom. They absolutely love it. Of course, you get the odd fish that just has no idea what the heck it is, and the fish just goes absolutely screaming upstream. But that's just part of fly fishing, isn't it? Get out there, guys, tie a few of these flies, give them a go. They absolutely changed my fishing life, that's for sure. Bit of a nasty pattern, but you can't argue with the results. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. Stay tuned for the next one on Kiwi Fisher.